guys in the dark.
So I'm young. I am just out of high school. I happen to need work at this time, so I end up sending in resumes to all sorts of entry-level places. I get some responses, not very many. I decide that McDonald's would be easiest because it is an easy drive back and forth from home and work. I also kind of liked the employee discount part as well. I thought that was pretty cool. The only spot open that they had happened to be night shift. It was about 10 o'clock to about 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm okay with that because at the time I was a night person. A few days go by. I'm really not working the counter or anything like that. I'm mostly just doing all the back end stuff and cleaning up. Our building happened to be off of a little strip mall, right off of the highway. It happens to be the only place that is open there at night. We do get a good amount of customers though. Most of them are from the drive-thru. Anyways, this happens to be on a Friday. It's my third week there, I think. Not really sure. All I really remember is that it was late. I remember that I was grabbing the stacked trays that were laying around in the lobby when someone happened to walk in through the doors. It happened to be a woman. She was short and very pretty. Made up super fancy, you know. She had a nice dress on with some heels. She was wearing a pretty big hat too. Not your average customer for our McDonald's. What was really weird to me at that time was that I didn't see her car pull up. I happened to have a full view of the parking lot from the window. No one dropped her off, so she must have walked there. I smiled at her as I happened to walk by and headed behind the counter. I bent down so that I could restack the trays below. I expected my coworker standing by at the register to serve her to help me out. He didn't speak though. After I had finished, I decided that I would stand up so that I could find out why the girl wasn't ordering anything. By that time, she happened to disappear. I never heard that door open. She was just gone. I asked the guy at the cash register where she went. He asked me, "Who?" I told him the girl with the dress and the heels. He just looked at me like I was stupid. Told me that he had no clue who I was talking about because he hasn't seen anybody come in. I tried to rationalize things. Figured that maybe she stepped in, looked at the menu, and then she decided to leave. There was something definitely strange about that whole ordeal. It didn't make sense why someone who looked and dressed like she did would be at a random McDonald's in the middle of the night. I carried on, and my shift went on normal for the next hour. I remember going on break after cleaning the toilets. I sat down on one of the chairs in the back, right near the kitchen, when suddenly I hear the sound of heels clicking on the floor. It was definitely louder than someone just walking on the floors. It sounded like stomping noises. So I look over, out into the lobby. My coworker happens to be gone from the front. I figured that he went to go take his break as well. But instead, I happened to see the same woman just standing there. Only this time, someone happened to be with her. It was a guy. He happened to have a tuxedo with some fancy black shoes. They were dancing together, like full-on dancing in the lobby, swinging back and forth. It was the most bizarre thing that I had ever seen in my entire life. I watched them for a bit. I was mesmerized before I took my place behind the register. I said something along the lines of, "Can I help you two?" They both just looked at me at the same time. As they happened to stare, I felt a hand grab my shoulder with a firm grip. So I turned around. Nobody happened to be there. I knew someone had touched me, but I didn't see anybody there. So I spun back to the lobby to where the people happened to be, to find them both gone. The guy and the girl had just vanished out of nowhere. I didn't hear any of the doors open. I didn't hear their fancy shoes on the floor at all. They were just there one moment, then suddenly they disappeared. The rest of that night, only a few things happened. At one point I had walked by the washroom on the way back to go do something. I found both of the doors swinging, the male and the female bathrooms, like someone had just crashed through both of them. Quite a while later, I looked for something on the shelves, in the back near the employee entrance. Something suddenly had banged on the door, very hard. Something heavy had hit it, but only once. I remember opening it up, looking around. I saw nobody there. After everything like that, the shift just went on like normal. Really not much to say about it. I was happy when I finally got off, though. The first amount of sunlights had just started to come over the horizon as I had left for my car. I was clocking out a few minutes before I was supposed to, but I really didn't think that the people coming in would even care. When I go through the parking lot, I happen to see a car. It looks like a small limo, just sitting there, right in front of our restaurant. Through the light of the street lamps, I can make out the doors opening up. 2 people would get out, one on each side of the vehicle. It happened to be the guy and the girl who I happened to see beforehand. Only, their appearance had changed. Their clothing were torn and ragged. I could see that the woman's dress clearly because it happened to be white. It was covered in dirt, with holes and tears. And their faces, they were terrifying. Their skin was bleach white, and their eyes, which originally were normal, were this beady black, like an oversized bug was looking at me. I just stood there. I was frozen. Right as I looked at them, the man had spoke, in a deep, filtered voice that seemed to echo from all around. "Would you like a ride? We happen to have room for just one more." Shaking my head was all that I could do. Without saying anything else, the 2 people, if you can even call them that, got into the vehicle, shut the doors. It suddenly pulled away. The lights weren't on at this point. I watched wide-eyed as it drove right down the road before disappearing into the darkness of the early morning. To this very day, I can't explain exactly what went on. All I know is that it freaked me the hell out. And I really wish that I wasn't the only one that saw that, because it makes me feel like I'm paranoid. Sadly, no one believes me. I happened to be in high school. I was stoned. Don't judge me. Cruising in my friend's Geo Storm. Don't judge her either. With several of my also stoned friends. When a trip through the drive-thru at McDonald's for a harmless 9-piece chicken nugget and a vanilla shake ended in tragedy, as well as a decent-sized emergency room bill. My third nugget was crunchy, in a bad way, mind you. I pulled what appeared to be a small bone from a single chicken claw attached to it out of my mouth. I screamed, inspiring Bud-induced mass hysteria in front of the car for about 20 minutes, which turned into a full-force panic attack on my part. My friend's mother rushed me to the ER, where the nurses weren't even trying to hide their giggles and their snorts. It was eventually released, both with paperwork ordering me not to smoke any more marijuana. My friend's mom inspected the bone claw. It was merely a piece of gristle on the end. Twisted shape, though. I really swear that it was actually a chicken claw, or maybe even worse. I was grandma sitting for my friend one day, when I was in my early 20s. She insisted on having lunch at McDonald's, in the restaurant, so I obligatedly took her there. She ordered a Filet-O-Fish sandwich. We happened to sit down at a booth, littered with shreds of lettuce and ketchup smears, and while I was trying to enjoy my strawberry shake, Granny was retelling me with every disgusting rumor or bit of urban folklore that she had ever heard about McDonald's food. "They use rotten strawberries on the sundaes," she proclaimed, eyeing my shake suspiciously. I kept slurping, nonplussed, and assured her that the shakes were just fine. She kept chewing her sandwich for a few moments, then all of a sudden leaned close and whispered, "They used aborted fetuses in their hamburgers, so I always order the fish." I stopped drinking my shake, mid-slurp, and directed my nauseated gaze at Grandma, who was nodding affirmatively while she pushed a fry right into her mouth.
So my second encounter with a creep starts like this. 16-year-old female working as a customer care manager on front of a house for McDonald's. Now where I am from where you are, front of house, you are required to wear a light stripped top, a yellow neck scarf, and a pencil skirt to just below the knee, which has a small split at the back. I always button my shirt right up to the top, so I always looked very modest, and I would never say a McDonald's uniform is attractive. Oh, yes, it can be. On the right woman. Anyway, when I worked at McDonald's, I always put my all into everything I did. So I knew tills, drive-through, drinks, serving, etc. I have always been someone that will happily have a conversation with someone to make their experience enjoyable, and hopefully make them want to come back. I was working on tills when a creepy customer came through the door. He was a tall, blonde bodybuilder, at least 50. He came to the till and ordered. Didn't look very happy, so I asked the obvious questions. How was your day? Etc. He made small talk, and we got chatting about both of our days. After that, he tells me it's nice to see someone smile around here. Everyone else is grumpy. Nice enough compliment. I was used to it. And he was right. Not many people here enjoyed their job. He starts coming in once a week, on Wednesday mornings. Each morning he would come in, we would have a chat. If I was on the floor, we would sit and chat at a table, and my managers were fine with this, as they knew it made each customer experience unique. We got to know each other's names. His name was Michael. I started college on a Wednesday and Thursday, and worked at McDonald's part-time, so my shifts always changed. I worked Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays instead of Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and sometimes extra days if they needed me. Michael started coming into McDonald's every day to find when I was working. First red flag, but I figured he is just lonely and needs someone to talk to. Anyway, he worked out my shift pattern and came in on Tuesdays instead of asking me why I wasn't in on Wednesdays because he missed our chats. He'd do this thing where he would let someone else go in front of him if it meant that he could come to my till instead. He would wait to one side to get served by me. Again, we chatted when he came in. This is where it got a bit more weird. Where we sat down talking, and he decided to really open up to me. He told me how him and his wife were going through a messy divorce. He started going into the details of why. He had punched his son. Now this guy was big, like he looked like a bodybuilder. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he had ended up smacking his wife too, I think. And here he was telling me about it. I'm no counselor after all. After proceeding to tell me how big his house was, he started telling me how he was living in the basement of the house that he owned, and it wasn't fair. I'm going to hit her again if this carries on. Apparently, the wife and son wanted him out, and they were going to have it, and not pay him for it. Blah, blah, blah. He wasn't letting that happen. His son won't talk to him. Blah, blah, blah. He started asking me for advice. A 16-year-old girl. I didn't really know what to say, so I just sort of said, everything happens for a reason, I suppose. And as I went to go get up, he asked me to sit back down with him. Now I had already been sat there for nearly half an hour, and I know I said my managers don't mind, but that's pushing it a little bit. So I told him I really had to go. He carried on trying to tell me to sit back down, but he let me go in the end. Now this may seem really unrelated, but trust me, it will make sense later on. In McDonald's you have the sauce pumps, right? Well, they are connected to a big bag in which the sauce has a popper in the top of it. You basically pop the tube into the popper on the bag, but Jesus Christ, this thing is fiddly. It can take me about 10 minutes just to get it connected. Then to put the heavy bag in the holder on the side is another 5 minutes. It's definitely a nightmare. The sauce had run out. The sauce ran out, and I had to fiddle to get it back in. Where the sauce dispenser is right opposite from where Michael always sits. I could feel his eyes burning into my back as I did this. And any time I'd turn around, he would be looking at me and just smiling. It made me feel a fair bit uncomfortable. But hey, It's my job, and you deal with this stuff all the time. Trust me, he is not the first person I've had perving at my bum. He came back a few more times, and each time I felt more and more uneasy. He started being a bit more personal, telling me he thought I was a pretty young girl, and we should meet up for coffee at some point, and I politely declined. Michael then said this, "Can I ask you something personal?" Depends. What is it? I can't promise I will answer. Are you a virgin? I'm not answering that, sir. What size are your boobs? I have a boyfriend, and I'm not comfy answering these questions, sir. Do you love your boyfriend? Would you leave your boyfriend for me? Me trying to scare him. My boyfriend is behind the counter, and I don't think he will be very happy with you asking questions like that, Michael. Just make sure he treats you right. You are a lovely girl. Anyways, I won't be coming back here for a while. So can I have your number? I don't think my boyfriend would be happy with that either. After that, I go to the back room to calm myself, as this is very unnerving for me. He was an older guy being very strange, and asking super inappropriate questions of me. He knew my age, as I had told him previously. The day continued. He had left. I continued and went home. When I woke up the next morning, I had a message on WhatsApp, a message on Facebook, and a friend request on there, and an Instagram follow. It was Michael. I don't know how, but he had found all my personal accounts just through my first name. The only way I can think of him finding out is by asking a colleague what my surname is and getting my number off one of them. Maybe he was friendly with one of the other workers and got my number from them. I don't know. He had messaged me saying how he needed to see more of my pictures. He had sent another message about how he loved looking at my ass when I went and bent over, crawling on the floor to fix the sauce bags, saying all the things he would love to do to me. At this point, I noped out and blocked him on everything. I still get messages though, even though he should have gotten the hint of me not wanting to talk to him. Luckily for me, I moved away a week or so after that happened. So Michael, let's not meet ever again.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.